This is an SM Media production. Hi everyone, and welcome to the latest episode of SM Media's Road to Cheltenham 2022. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be your host as always. It's the first show of the new year. Happy New Year to all our viewers and subscribers. Thanks very much for tuning in. Calum, we're joined by Calum McCloughan of the Scottish Daily Mail. Calum, Happy New Year. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Yeah, Happy New Year to you. Digested all the Christmas and New Year fare. A couple of quiet weeks ahead of, well, in terms of Cheltenham related anyway. January's usually a bit quieter, so it gives everyone time to kind of figure out, the pecking orders for all these various divisions.
Yeah, absolutely. Although it's been quite quiet, there's still a lot of horses that have been catching my eye. We'll go straight into some fan questions. We've took a few more fan questions this week than we usually do. First things first, what is Nicky Henderson's best chance for the Gold Cup? Callum, what's your thoughts? Nicky Henderson, he does have a few entries. Entries are out for the Gold Cup. He's got like a Champ, Chantry House, Mr. Fisher. What do you think is his best chance for the Gold Cup?
Probably just Chantry House for me. And they're both owned by GP McManus, him and Champ. So
Yeah.
Given that Champ's probably more likely to run the stairs hurdle, isn't he? When the realisation of it all drops, he could still turn up the Gold Cup. I think a lot of it will hinge on what happened to Chantry House and the Cotswold Chase.
Yes.
If he kind of shows a bit of semblance of form, and Kempton was kind of just he couldn't really muster the gallop early on at Kempton, get outpaced. That could be a sign of a potential Gold Cup horse, because he does fit a lot of these recent trends that are winning it. Chantry House, second season chaser, an 8-year-old. They've been the eights. 8-year-old, seven of the last 9 winners have been aged 8 in the Gold Cup at the moment. So, but Kempton was a bit disconcerting run, and if you look back at his novice form, Envoy Allen hasn't franked it. I mean, Fussell Raffles not really Grade 1 material. Shan Blue's been injured since. Aintree form at Espoir de Rome, he's not done much either, so he does have a lot of questions to answer in that regard. But Champ, age 10, that suggests he's a bit too old now. Maybe his chance for a Gold Cup is gone, and a big chance for the Stairs Hurdle is not. But he's bred for it. He's named for the job. He stays. If he's sound enough, he can go right. I don't think Mr. Fisher will stay the trip. I think that was clear at Kempton. I don't think he'd quite get
one
home.
that's still entered who hasn't been seen, who's Angel's Breath still in there. Love to know what's wrong with him actually, because last year he did. I think it was the season before, he looked a really good prospect over fences. Then obviously got that bad injury. But you're interested to see if he's still entered.
Yeah, and that trip's a complete unknown, isn't it?
Yeah.
As well? I would lean towards Chantry House.
Yeah, I think Chantry House. I think.
Slightly, but I think both of them probably got a lot of work to do to worry the likes of Galvin at the moment, and the two, maybe even Manilindo, if he comes back to form, he's a Gold Cup holder and market leader Aplotar. I think 3 of them have kind of got their work cut out. But I mean, the 2 best runs of Chantry's House life by a mile have been at Cheltenham Festival.
Yeah.
Winning the Marsh, so he does come to alive there. I'd be more inclined to chance Chantry House over Champ.
So it's Chantry House. Next question, sticking with the Nicky Henderson subject. Is it too early to compare Constitution Hill to the likes of Altior and Shishkin? Constitution Hill, we'll talk about him a bit more in the show, but you can't help but be impressed with how well he won the Tolworth. Is it too early, though, to be jumping the gun and saying he could be as good as the likes of Altior and Shishkin?
Probably. One difference I would say from both of them is Constitution Hill is a lot more relaxed straight away.
Yeah.
Remember Altior, he has a novice hurling debuts at Chep, so he needed 2 handlers to start, for instance. Shishkin was notoriously keen, he fell early on at Newbury and things like that in his novice hurling days, so that's only Constitution Hill's 3rd run in his life as well. I mean, and he's probably going to go straight to Supreme as well, so he's only going to go in there with 3 runs. Altior had 7 in his career, Shishkin had 6 in his career before going to Supreme, so and Nicky Henderson, Nico de Boinville kind of quite rightly pour over him, because I think he's that straightforward at the moment as a novice. And you see that with the way he races, how comfortable he is and how he relaxed. He's certainly got a lot of gears, speed-wise. I can't see him splitting up.
Nah, I don't think they will.
He's in previous. He just runs his horses in the Supreme. Did it Sprinter Sacres here, and he get beat. Bouverdaire as well, when he get beat by stablemates. So Shishkin as well. I think Chantry House ran. So he's certainly not going to be afraid to do that. I think they'll all go through the chasing route as well. So maybe next season when he starts novice chasing, we can compare them.
Yeah, we'll talk about that later on, because I don't want him to go chasing. We'll touch on that later on. But Constitution Hill, we're saying is the real deal. When do you think we will next see Bob Ollinger? I've got two things in mind, and I want to get your thoughts. We could either see him this Sunday in the novice chase at Punchestown that Envoy Allen won last year, or could he line up in the Henry VIII at Sandown?
I think the Kilkenny chase has been planned for quite some time this Sunday at Punchestown, so I would expect to see him on Sunday. Yeah,
I think that was the first thought that came into my head, but I was thinking as well, could we maybe see him in the Henry VIII? But if he goes there, then I highly doubt he would go to Sandown. Next question, does Album Photo in 9-1 represent value for the Gold Cup? We'll obviously touch on Album Photo's pretty Mickey Mouse race later on, but 9-1 for the Gold Cup, he's won it twice. Is age against him, maybe?
Yeah, 10. He has been lightly raced enough, a bit like Champion Away, but he's had like one run every year, and it's that New Year's Day. Actually, I thought he jumped terribly, to be honest. He's certainly not for me at that price. His age going against him, so yeah, he has an each way chance, but I'd rather see him at 14. I think he's more of a 14, 16 to 1.
Yeah, I think 9-1's a bit short for me as well.
Too short for me at the moment.
Yeah, we'll touch on Album Photo later on in the recap. Final question. The two races that haven't really been mentioned at all have been the Hunter's Chase and the Cross Country. Do you have any fancies for both races?
In terms of the Hunter's Chase, that normally starts around 10 days' time at Ludlow, the Hunter's Chase season, when they come out of point to points and start prepping for the spring festivals. What I recommend is that Billaway's been runner-up twice now, and it's low to mid 140s, so that's the yardstick of form that you're kind of looking around and seeing what horses could either beat him or match him. So you can easily kind of compare between every Hunter's Chase. You see, they do come out different ways. It came straight from the point to point field. The race course the year he won it, for instance. Billaway normally tends to take that Nace Chase at the end of January and Hunter's Chase there in Ireland's Leopardstown. I think the year Pasha de Polder won it, I think went to Wincanton, things like that. And Porlock Bay went to Wincanton beforehand. That's not a good race. So Paul Nicholls normally sends a couple there. Bangor, Doncaster, Hazel Hill went to Ludlow, and then Warwick, I think, when he won it beforehand. So and there's good ones that Leopardstown on the fringe used to use and things like that. And Musselburgh, Haydock. There's plenty of different kind of races in different spheres, and they haven't come out yet. One name would mention that Derek Christie trains is Vauxhall.
That's the one I was thinking of as well. He was third at Boxing Day, wasn't he?
He was third at Down Royal, and he absolutely hated the ground.
Yeah.
Look through his back form, he's much better on spring ground. He's only 6, so you do wonder that if an environment like Cheltenham would catch him out, because all the last 7 or 8 winners of this have been aged 10 or 11. Really, it's kind of one for an experienced horse.
What about the cross country? We've got Lights of Easy's Land Tiger Roll obviously going for, I think, the 6th Cheltenham Festival win if he goes there. Like all reports says, that seems to be the target. One I like is a horse called Shady Operator for Edda Bolger. He was quite impressive recently. I think he could be at 8-1, maybe a good bit of value for the cross country. I've
always insisted that the ground is key in this race. If it's good ground, then I think Tiger Roll's fairly unimposable, even though he's now going to be 12. If his attitude's still right, we'll probably know if he's going to be there. That be the case. If the ground's soft, then it's a major negative for him. So it's one of those races that you'd wait to the day. Easiest Land's got to John Joe Neal's. I mean, there's a big kind of move there yesterday about GP McManus buying this new horse, Prengard, that's now favourite for the race. It was plunged into 20s, into 6s.
Really?
The new Easiest Land of Away that good back for like Compagnie and all these French kind of places, and GP's bought him, and he's sent to Ende Bulgers, who also has Shady Operator, of course. So used to be the master of racing these horses in the bank. So the fact that he's been promoted into default favourite because
it's weird, isn't it? I've just noticed that there. 4-1 with Sky Bet.
GP McManus has bought him, and he's been sent over to Ende Bulger, and not even 100% sure that he's going to even turn up. So I think the fact that he's leapt into default favouritism shows how many question marks there are in this market. Diesel Dally is going to go straight there, but he's a lot to find because these early races at Cheltenham in November and December are all handicaps. So, you know, if you're scrambling home in them, are you going to really find £15-20 to beat a Tiger Roll or an On-Song Eases Land or this new French recruit that's coming in, EGAS as well? It's another French complete unknown. So I thought Mortal shaped okay for Gordon Elliott last time in third, but again he's 21, rated mid 130s. Subneck was rated mid 140s, and he kind of ran at his mark last year, and he finished third, and it was quite a distant one at that, to be honest. So yeah, I'd be holding fire on that race for now. Yeah,
I'd probably just go Shady Operator at the moment. Yeah, that was our questions for this week. If you've got questions for next week's show, please send them in the comments or on social media. That will move on to the recap. We'll start with the last day of 2021 at Punchestown. A couple of horses to mention. On Baton won novice chase there really impressively, 10-1 now for the National Hunt Chase. Really good jumping display. Calum, I think I went for the wrong Cheveley Park horse for National Hunt Chase. I was very impressed with this.
Very possibly, yeah. Hacked up stablemate fell, but he was going to beat him, I think. The one niggling doubt you would have about him is that he's had 4 runs and they've all been long breaks in between, which does suggest that he can pick up the odd niggle here, there, and everywhere. And I think Willie Mullins had hinted that afterwards that that's the case. He's been a bit tricky to train, but he's undoubtedly very talented. The way he jumped, no nonsense, very, very professional horse. Yeah, you can see the National Hunt Chase being right up his street, but Spring Ground at Festival, given his back history, I'd be a little doubtful about that. I'd rather, see declarations and wait close at the time and see if people are still forgetting about him, because that price is kind of fair enough. He'd be one that I would be kind of waiting for, like, see when people go non-run or no bet and things like that.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you on that. I would probably wait until you get a bit of support. We'll move on to the juvenile hurdle that day. Pied Piper beat Vauban, both kind of around 14-1 for the triumph. I would just maybe say Pied Piper was a lot better jumping than Vauban, but I think these are really two really nice juveniles.
Yeah, Pied Piper was 89 rated in the flat and won by the Queen, John Gosson, so they know he probably knew his job well, and that experience kind of came out in the end. He was very heavily raced over the summer, for instance, so you'd imagine he would have been a bit fitter than Vauban and maybe a bit sharper. Turned out to be the case because his jump at the last was better.
Yeah,
that's what won the day at the end, because the winning margin was only half length. He pulled away readily clear from the rest. I suspect that they're both quite good and they're both each week players in the triumph. I think Pied Piper's a little bit completely different to Phil Dorn away, even though they've got the same ownership. I think he might have more scope, actually, improve over the fence. He's a bit raw. I think he's going to learn more mentally about the game than Phil Dorn, who looks a bit more the finished article at this stage. I think Vauban has every chance of reversing the form with a bit more experience under his belt as well. I thought that was a fairly encouraging debut. I thought it was moderate at the time, but when you go back and look at it, it was actually quite a decent race, I think. They both have decent each way shouts, I would think.
Yeah, I thought they were two really nice juveniles as well. I think they could 14s maybe each way could be good value. We'll move on to New Year's Day. We'll start at Cheltenham. Hillcrest won the Ballymore trial really well, actually. A massive horse. 25 to the Ballymore, 25 to the Bartlett, beating I Am Maximus by 2 lengths. I thought this was really good. I think he maybe could be a battle horse, maybe on the Ballymore.
Oh yeah, he's a big chaser, isn't he?
Yeah.
The big 3-mile galloper. Trevor Hemming's colours, you'd think Grand National type, that already.
Yeah, that's
Henry Daly is, I think he's huge, and I think doesn't think he's got a tall enough measuring stick for him. And that's how big and imposing he is as a novice, and he kind of dwarfed everyone in the paddock, including Iron Maximus, who he travelled in it quite well and is bumped into one here. He get outstayed up the hill. I wonder if they'll go back and trip with him.
I think he might be a potential, maybe even County Hurdle Coral Cup. That could be his route.
I don't think he'll stay in a Coral Cup. I think he's got to go back to 2 miles as a novice. His action is still a little bit strange for me.
Yeah.
Drops at the ground. A mark of 1:34 though is fairly reasonable. Novices in handicap company does certainly take a lot of appeal at these Cheltenham festivals recently. So yeah, I think he might be the one to take out of it. I think Hillcrest could be more of a kind of long-term project. He could easily turn up in a Ballymore, for instance, or a Bartlett. He's entitled to go there after that performance. He's certainly a no-nonsense galloper, and he'll put decent rivals to the sword as he did the last day.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into the Dipper. La Home Press is about 7-1 now for the Turners. Jumped well, made all, won by 10 lengths, beating the Glanced Queen. I really think this horse has a serious chance to get to Bob Bollinger. Maybe not beat him, but he's certainly worth mentioning.
Yeah, he's jumped and improved in the second circuit. Made all uncomplicated Venetia Williams horse. Certainly knows his job really well, and gradually improving. I think he's going to have a bit of a break now. He had a few quick runs after that. So I hope he won by 10 lengths. He's now rated 154, which firmly puts you in a place picture for the Turners. The big missing thing, he's filling the void of My Drogo for the Brits.
Yeah.
The British Challenge, My Drogo is now injured for the season. But it was a functional performance. The Glancing Queen is in second. There's certainly no back number in a mare's chase potentially. So he's beat a decent yardstick, giving her weight fairly comprehensively. It's just, does he have the star quality that Bob Ollinger probably has? Probably not. There'll be other rivals. I mean, Willie Mullins is going to sign a couple here not to go to the Arkle and things like that. So, when he bumps into genuine Grade 1 horses and how many are going to be there, then he might be found wanting a little bit. But rated 154, he's certainly entitled to take his shot at it.
Yeah, it was a good performance. We'll move into the real keel. Stormy Island, the horse we both tipped up to win that race. Did win. Would he have won if Bruno Stormy stayed in his feet?
Horse he would have won. We were both on. No, I don't know. I was concerned at the time. I thought Bruno
I thought he was coming, yeah.
But and I watched it back. He was kind of. She did get him off the bridle quite quickly. So, yeah, I mean, the way McFabulous finished suggested maybe Bruno Storm would have outstayed her up the hill. But it was a great front running ride by Danny Mullins, who seems to do no wrong at the moment.
Yeah, I definitely, yeah.
Has been beaten in the past in Mayor's Hurdle, so whether she should be favourite for this is.
She's 13-2, kind of roughly joint favourite. Are you looking at that going? Is she the best of that crop now? Like, she's been fourth in it, third in it. She's never really took that step, has she?
Yeah, there's two ways to look at that, and one that 150 makes on bare figures and ratings. 150 makes her pretty clear. Deservingly top of the market, and she doesn't have there's no honeysuckle.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Do here there's not even a concertista, so you're looking at in terms of proven form of experienced horses. It's not a lot for her to fear here, really. So therefore, she does hold all the answers. But you would be disappointed if she won, because you know that Amir's novice hasn't really made the grade and challenged her properly. And she likes to make all, and I think heaven help us would.
Yeah, I think he would seriously challenge her. Right?
Give her a soft lead, a freebie up front, which she did get, the real kill. And she didn't really quite get it in Hatton's Grace, and she went too quick, so tactically blow out a little bit potentially. But yeah, I'd be looking elsewhere for the Mares Hurdle, but she's a sound, reliable yardstick. She is the one to beat on figures, to be honest. But I think tactically things might go against her.
We'll move into Fairyhouse. A potentially exciting novice hurdle in the Mares division could be Allegory de Vassy. 5-1 favourite for the Mares novice now. A very impressive performance.
Don't understand why she's clear favourite though.
Okay.
I think there's a lot of Mares novices that have done similar. Not grabbing her chance. She's done it really well.
I thought it was really good, but I can't see your argument. She has clear favourite. There's maybe a few horses who've done a bit more, like
Statuaire's one.
Yeah, Statuaire. Even Brandy Love, for example.
Brandy Love looked quite good, even though she might win deep ground. The 4 or 5. So Dino Bluth later on in the week, but Ellie Bell wouldn't rule out. She's created form, so the Richie colours, maybe connections visually how she did it. She looked very physically imposing. She does look forward. She comfortably jump a fence, for instance. So you'd be thinking maybe Mares Chase down the line with her, but not from Four in France. Third in the race was beaten at Ayr yesterday, and that's the only test of the maiden form at the moment. Dwarfed the opposition, the paddock, but that race did produce Royal Cahala and Hook Up last year, so there is one of two ways of looking at it, but it's just a maiden hurdle, and the only form test of it is it's not to cut the mustard at Ayr yesterday. So
it's maybe one of those you're keen to see how she performs with graded.
Yeah, you've got to wait to see these horses up in grades. It really should be a market that's 8-1 the field. To be honest, at the moment, I wouldn't be rushing to the pecking order. My view in the Mares Novices Hurdle is that it could be like a concert taster year of Willie Mullins just throws everything in, runs 6 or 7, and anyone can win it. At the moment, it's that wide open.
We'll move on to Mount Ida beating Ellie in the Mares Chase on New Year's Day. Both around 13-2 for the Mares Chase. Mount Ida jumped so right at times it was untrue, but I was a lot more encouraged by how Ellie May performed.
Yeah, it was certainly a step forward. She rather chucked the race away. Getting £3 from Mount Ida, it made a big mistake, get back into it and get outstayed. Outstayed by Colreevy in last year's renewal. There was a hurdle race that I remember where she was beaten by Build Me Up Buttercup. Not a horse that really finds a lot for pressure on the running. My nose, and there's three tight finishes that she's kind of been second best in. Bombed out at Aintree. Maybe there are some kind of weaknesses in there. There's no doubt she's 155. It does set the form standard anyway. Given how Put the Kettle on alarmingly bombed out. But Mount Ida does jump right. You saw that in the Kim Muir. Cheltenham might not suit. I think it'd be sensible if Gornellic kept her for Limericks, grade 2s that week, and maybe go Grand National route that way. You just think the shorter trip and jumping right would be exacerbated at Cheltenham, but she's always kind of overcome that, and Colreevy did the same when she won it. So I would certainly not rule her out. I wouldn't rule Ellie out either. I think she'll probably continue to get better. I think she just needs to find a race to win to up her confidence, and there's a lot of these Mares Chases about that she should have a penalty and run it no bother.
Yeah, we'll move into Jungle Boogie, who was a really nice winner for Willie Mullins as well. 12-1 for the Turners. I think that's probably fair. Jumped really well. Obviously 3 for 3. He has won a bumper, a maiden hurdle, and now a beginner's chase. So he's spending very little time at each division. So it's almost like fences look to be his element.
It does spend a little time each division because he gets injured too often. He's now aged 8, for instance. So the same owner had like Next Destination, and how many problems and setbacks he had. He's got Paul Nicholls now. He's out for the season. He ran quite well in the National Hunt Chase. But Calvin's now Gold Cup second favourite, and so it's obviously a strong race. He's obviously very talented and very good, but again, like the other horse at Fairyhouse that day, you have to question his soundness. Generally, you want a bit of financial security. Those non-runner no bet at that price is at 12s because he's had only 3 runs in his life, and there've been big breaks in between. That's been his only run each season. So I mean, if you're taking the last 2, it's bumper, and his hurling days, you'll not see him again. Willie Mullins talked him up as potential supreme Ballimore horse after his maiden.
Yeah.
They're now talking the same about his grade company. You just wonder, is he going to be one that will pick up a niggle again? That's a doubt. You've never really seen him run back to back in one season. So that alone for me is enough to not play with him at the moment. But yeah, he's certainly undoubtedly very talented.
Yeah, he's a talented horse. We'll move into Tremoor. El Fabiolo. Now, you can argue the form behind and things. He beat nothing. We agree with that. If you want to go and watch a race where a horse just jumps really well and just dominates a race, then this was it. I thought this was a great performance. 25's the supreme. I'd be more interested to see what he is for the county hurdle if he can maybe get into there, because it just seems to be. I think that was the same race San Ra won as well. That seems to be the plan. I would think that would be more the place they would go.
They could do the double green of Simon Munir and Isaac Swade. Yeah, very visually impressive. The form's going to work out, but Willie Mullins just told afterwards, he said he sometimes runs a really good one there. And he did say he's right up there. I mean, Saint Roy was the one that Actor and Tramore, Penhill did it, Lorena did it as well.
Yeah.
So, if you're talking him up in that company, then it's certainly worth monitoring for sure. He could be a kind of a late sleeper in that mould. Particularly if like Kilcrut's not firing and things like that, you might be tempted to go up and grade with him then. The double green of giving connections, they threw Blue Lord in there quite deep. They could do the same with him, but you have to wait and see for his next run. If he goes up in grade or not, and that will reveal a lot more.
Yeah, I thought it was really good as well. We'll move into the New Year's Day chase. Album Photo made it 4 in a row. We've called it a race. It really wasn't a race. It was just Willie Mullins throwing 4 horses in it, and Album Photo getting a solo. You're right. He jumped terrible. Probably the worst he's jumped since the when he fell in the Marsh, I think, or the Brown Advisory when he fell in that. You can't really take much into this. It was just a case of get him round and win the race.
Yeah, he got soft lead, didn't he?
Yeah, it was quite farcical, to be honest.
Aramix get taken out. He wasn't genuinely challenged, was it? It turned into a bit of a sprint towards the end, and a Gold Cup horse is going to have more gears for a Grand National horse in the end. So Acapella Bourgeois never went a yard, so it just totally fell apart. It was completely unsatisfactory, and it was kind of a glorified Mullins schooling
Yeah, that's
session.
what it was. That's a schooling session just round Tremoor.
He makes these niggly mistakes off the bridle, alarmingly quickly. There was one second you thought Burrow Saint might actually get him here. It was all just very, very underwhelming. If you're watching that live at the line, you say, he's won the Gold Cup twice. You wouldn't really believe it, would you? So, no, I think he's. I would like to see him run again, for instance. But
there was talk at the start of the year they were going to give him a lot more runs, like John Durkin, for example. Like, you don't know if they maybe still do that, but
that, hasn't it? But Leopardstown dries out so quickly. It's unlikely he's going to take the Irish Gold Cup. Bobby Joe Chase, maybe.
Yeah, it could be something like that. Yeah.
And you bring him over for like a Cotswold or something. I think they've always been reluctant to send the main Gold Cup dart, which he is now because Bumpers is out. A Cotswold or a Denman Chase, and they could have done, but Willie Mullins knows where he's at. He's probably keen to get work into him, and I think he'd be stepping up the work after that performance.
Yeah, it was for what it was. It was a schooling session. He's 91 for the Gold Cup. I wouldn't have him at that price, but yeah, Album Photo's back. Second in Nace, we'll start with 2 big horses who can make a say at Cheltenham. Blue Lord won by 20 lengths. A really nice jumping display. He just looks a lot better over a fence than he does a hurdle. 6-1 for the Arkle. I don't think that's a bad price.
No, he looks quite good. Certainly over a fence, he's improved for it. 148 over hurdles, so he's bang there. The form of that race is not very good, though. I mean, you've got Lifetime Ambition and Henry de Bromhead outsider, Jessica Harrington as well. I mean, they are the 2 yards that are running, fairly desperately at the moment. To be honest, Harrington yard. So I mean, we haven't really gleaned much. His form of his debut is probably more impressive. Maybe they want more experience in him. He might take in the Irish Arkle before he goes.
Yeah, I think he could go.
Really got nothing to prove in the jumping department. It's just whether he bumped into one in the Supreme. It's whether is history going to repeat itself? He bumped into a stablemate and appreciate it in the Supreme, and likely he's going to do the same with Fernie Hall in the Arkle.
Yeah, we'll move into the Lawlers of Naas. Ginto is now 7-1 for the Ballymore, 6-1 for the Bartlett. Another good performance, picked up well. Thought he maybe looked beat a bit too out, but showed his class at the end of the day. Grand Jury ran a good race as well. Where would you go? You're a fan of this horse.
I am. I almost tipped him up for the Bartlett, but I think he'll go Ballymore.
Yeah, I think he'll go Ballymore.
When
as
a
well.
race like that, you'd be inclined to go the Ballymore. But the thing that would point me towards the Ballymore with him is that he's very much still one for the future.
Mm-hmm.
And Albert Bartlett can bottom race horses, and it doesn't really akin to itself to a lot of classy types. Unlike the race last 2 years ago in Monkfish and Time Hill were all in. It was a bit of kind of an exception to the rule.
Yeah.
It's kind of more professional. I don't think they'd want to risk bottoming that much.
Especially when the owners have got Hollow Games as well, who looks more of an out-and-out stayer, but probably for that division, wouldn't
he? Yeah, I think Ginto I think is obviously better. I think
yeah.
Run the horses in the better race, and that's what Gordon Elliott said. And I think the better the race, the better he'll run. So Albert is a better race than Albert Bartlett, and I think that's what they'll do, unless the grounds is too quick or something like that, like rattling quick, borderline firm, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
He's lobbed out in front, dictated the race quite comfortably. In the Hollow Games Grand Jury, he's just starting for toe.
Yeah. What do you want? Didn't he run much of a race, did he?
I thought he got a shocking ride, to be honest. I was not happy with his position at any point, and he stumbled when the race developed. And he tried to eat up ground the outside, and then his run petered out over the last. I thought it was eminently forgivable, and there was a lot of money from on the day, so I think he's worth another chance. Personally, I wouldn't completely write him off. The distance he's beaten is a bit of concern, but I thought tactically everything went wrong for him. Grand Jury ran quite well. I think he could potentially go to the Bartlett if he wanted to as well.
Mm-hmm.
They're all kind of flexible options.
Yeah.
It did look a decent enough race to my eye. Ginto paid $570,000 from the Morans. I think he's going to be their flagship horse, and what he does over hurdles, I think it's going to be a bonus, because I think he'll probably go down the 3 mile chasing route next year. Yeah,
probably. Yeah, we'll move into Clonmel in the 6th. Dino Blue was an impressive winner. Now 10-1 for the Mayor's Novice, winning by 15 lengths. Impressive. I thought it was really good.
Particularly impressive when quicking away from a couple of probably decent stables in behind in La Prima Donna. I'd have for the same price as like Devassi. I really don't see the difference between the pair. One's 10s, one's 5s. Go figure for me. It's just another decent Mayor's Novice. Willie Mullins has a lot bullets to fire, and I wouldn't certainly be making a pecking order right now.
No, but there's a nice horse. I thought it was a really good performance. Cashback beat the Classic Gateway in the Munster Hurdle. What was your overall takeaways for this? I was a bit disappointed in Classic Gateway, but when you watch the race back, it was deep ground, and perhaps he could be worth another chance.
I thought it looked heavy in the paddock as well. I thought it would come on for that run. It looked a bit flabby, particularly in relation to Cashback. But if you want to be a great hurdler, I think it's a race that you kind of hoping to win. Cashback's 140 rated to be. I think he's more, albeit his better forms in chasing. He's more efficient over a hurdle, and he's safer over a hurdle than fences. He take a lot of chances with a couple of tumbles at higher company. But yeah, I do think Classic Gateway is completely won for next year.
Yeah, I think he's a staying chaser in the making. Yeah,
he's a staying chaser.
Yeah, definitely. We'll move into Sandown on Saturday. A couple to mention. Martello Sky won the Mayor's Hurdle quite well. 10-1 now for the Mayor's Hurdle. She's progressive, isn't she?
Yes. Her attitude is excellent in the way she goes through. I mean, she did not like that ground, and Aidan Coleman was even thinking about pulling her up. She didn't like heavy ground, but she came back in the bridle and then powered through and won. unlike Gala, who travelled really well into it and then faded.
Yeah, just went out of light, didn't she?
I think she had the kind of a little setback beforehand, and it was really heavy ground there, like the most attritional ground all season, and I think it just took its toll. Whether she recovers that in time for Cheltenham or something like that, I don't know. But you'd probably be swerving her for the future. But given that this second rated 132 ran probably to that mark, she probably does have a little bit to find in herself. She's definitely entitled to go there, and her attitude's really
Yeah,
good.
absolutely, yeah.
And if it's a weak renewal, then why not go and take your chance, which it seems to be. She's a small each week chance, but faceable. You know, you're running in bona fide grade ones tend to be, even if it's weak, it's still going to be a step up from tens. Probably not for me.
We'll move into Constitution Hill's demolition job in the Tolworth. Kind of roughly 2-1, 9-4, joint favourite for the Supreme. Callum, it wasn't just the way he quickened away, it was the way he jumps. He just jumps like a proper good horse.
It's not top class, really.
Yeah, it just looked, there's something about it, just like you're thinking, magnificent.
Visually wow factor. You know, Nico de Boinville really gets excited about anything.
Mm-hmm.
He's putting at it, and Nicky Henderson's delighted as well. If John Bond's kind of the keen kind of going fidget, Constitution Hill is kind of the laid back seasoned professional. I mean, they both have incredible engines. Both look 2 miles at this stage to be, and speed wise, Constitution Hill just took them to the sword, and it's the second time he's done it at Sandown as well. He's ground versatile. He hit the line really hard, which is what you'd want to see, and he handles the preliminaries extremely well, and he can take a lead as well. So I can see why Henderson's not going to run him again until the Supreme. Because
that wouldn't bother me though. Like when you've got a horse with that talented, they'll run the race. You know what I mean? Like it's not like as if he needs another run. I think John Bond will run again. When you look at that, the top of the market, you get like John Bond, Constitution Hill, Sir Gerhard. It reminds you of the days of Min Altior, Bouverdier. That it could be we could see 3 potential superstars like that.
Yeah, like Shishkin, Abacadabra, and you know, it looks a strong renewal. You know, in the last years it was just basically appreciating the rest. You know, you do get these kind of, it's either really really good or pretty bad, and it's shaping up to be really really good at the moment. And that's the thing. You know, it's essentially the day beating a high 120 rated horses in second that's probably ran just above his mark.
I didn't understand the Mr. Glass going over 2 miles. I know it was deep ground, but I didn't understand that at all.
Nah, he needs way further, doesn't he? The Gary Muir horse didn't quite see it out. Probably because his flat breeding probably didn't help in that regard. You know, and then the one that back form at Cheltenham pulled up quite quickly and hit the ground. So you do, the 2 doubts you'd have if you're backing Constitution Hill right now would be the form of what he's done is largely untested. For a grade 1, you know, it's not.
It wasn't the strongest, I would agree.
Tolworth is not traditional prep for a spring ground festival. Like Somerville Boys, only one that's won it in a decade, and one accepts that was kind of a weak, deep ground, strange renewal.
Yeah.
So that would be one doubt. The other doubt would be the level of opposition he's going to take on is going to be quite good as well. John Bond, obviously, Sir Gerhard as well coming up. Mighty Port and 3 Strike Life look decent. The Mullins horse we talked about, the 20s at Marion Sway, that could go there. You know, there could be a couple of genuine sleepers in there, but he's certainly the right favourite for me.
Yeah, I would agree. That as well, you were talking about Constitution Hill perhaps going over fences next year. I think we could potentially have the next champion hurdle winner.
Yeah, could do with John Boy, you know. But I think that's for next season.
Yeah, that's for next season. Yeah, it's just you're thinking this type of horse. You're thinking sky's the limit because he was that impressive. It was just the way he jumped. Everything was.
Thinking champion hurdle now.
Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was a brilliant performance. Constitution Hill, obviously one of the highlights of the weekend. Quite mention a few horses up between Cork and Fairyhouse on Saturday and Sunday. Ebazari beat Adamantly Chosen for Willie Mullins, who was 1-4. Ebazari obviously got a good flat pedigree. I think he came from Aga Khan. 16-1 for the Triumph. Think he's decent?
He probably is. I think he probably is. He's another one that you can give an each week shout to. I believe that he's kind of, Cork's not really a track that you kind of relate to top class horses coming
Yeah.
through. But he's another one. You were going to find more and more of these going to come out of the woodwork gradually and try and challenge the standard that Phil Doris set. So yeah, he's one to monitor up in grade.
Yeah, good. I thought it was a good performance, beating a well-fancy horse of Willie Mullins. We'll move on to Fairyhouse on Sunday. Dunvegan beat Black Bow, and they're both roughly around 16 months of Grand Daniel. They both pulled a lot clearer of the field, so you would suggest maybe that they are maybe setting a good yardstick for the Grand Daniel.
Yeah, and I thought the ground was probably a bit too soft for Dunvegan on that day. I think he's probably done quite well to win. Black Bow is a mark that's obviously workable, but he does make the odd mistake.
Yeah.
He's notorious for his chasing days, and his jump at the last kind of cost him. Though they were both kind of very dominant over a field that, certainly no mugs at handicap level on Ireland. Yeah, they both have big shouts at Grand Daniel. I would believe. I think Black Bow probably the one you take out of it. He was really strong in the market beforehand, as was Dunvegan. Dunvegan's now won 2 of those kind of races, so we do kind of fear what the handicapper might do in terms of that. And I think a lot of his best form is at that track.
Yeah, we'll move on. The final horse we'll mention in the recap, St. Sam won a really nice beginner's chase at Fairyhouse. 20-1 for the Arkle, travelled strongly, jumped a French beautifully, made all, beat a good couple of horses in the doubles coachman and El Barra. So St. Sam's potentially one that could be a lot better over a fence than he was over a hurdle.
Yeah, I think he's overpriced, to be honest. And that evidence, it's just whether the Triumph, they had the option of going there and they took the handicap route and he was second. Do they do the same here? Just get his hurdle smart and work from there, because he's clearly a better chaser. That it's a very good debut. The Devil's Coach with this good back form, as is El Barra. I mean St. Sampson barely pushed out to beat El Barra by 10.5 lengths. Blue Lord beat that horse by 5 lengths last time out. And Devil's Coachman and El Barra both the experience. So I thought that was a mighty performance. And the market was really strong for him. 2-1 beforehand, and he's absolutely hammered into 11-10. Yeah, I think he's very interesting wherever he goes. He can even go up, but he's probably that good. And he's been at Cheltenham before and ran really well. He was the best of the weights at the Fred Winter. And some decent Fred Winter horses came out. I mean, Jeff Kidder won a grade 2 since in his juvenile days. Rivière de Tails improved for a fence and she was midfield. So he's another one to take out from that race. I thought he looked pretty good.
Yeah, it was a good performance from St. Sam, and that was our recap for the week. We'll take a look at what's coming up, and obviously we record this on Monday, so we're probably a mile away from the weekend. We'll just get through quickly. We could see Dussart on Wednesday. This could be an exciting horse. We'll maybe touch on him later on. Saturday, we've got the Kilsobany Aqua Conscious Chase and the Lanzarote Hurdle. Calum, anything you fancy so far? Too early to say?
I haven't seen any declarations of runners, so I can't really reveal. But I mean, Warwick as well is quite good. Bob Ollinger probably on Sunday in Ireland. So yeah,
we've also got the Moscow Flyer as well, which was a good.
Yeah, these are good races. So yeah, probably one of the best weeks in January. A month that's kind of regarded as kind of a bit quieter than normal. So yeah, a lot to look forward to the weekend, but certainly not committing anything to see a race, Cal. Yeah,
we'll see. What we'll do is we'll post obviously any updates regarding the weekend's action. We'll post on our social media channel, so stay tuned for that. We will move on to our Ante Post picks, and we'll just put them along the screen just now. Calum, obviously your folder looks a bit better than mine. One I want to talk about that we didn't mention on the recap was Britska, who you tipped up last week before the world tipped him up. Finished 4th in a race yesterday. What do you think? Do you think it was a poor performance, or is there maybe some ulterior motive behind that?
I think the significant takeaway from it was that it was a third quick run in succession. And 4, and he's been on the go and flat all season. So he's had 10 runs this year. And I think that was probably just one too many. David Russell reported that he was flat out all the way, so I just think it's a bit of a flat effort. He'll be getting a mark now, and that's a blanket mark. That's basically what he's done before. So, it's going to help in that regard as his weight. I do think that wasn't quite his true running. He tipped up at 20s. Then
the price dropped dramatically.
Depends. Of course, it wasn't down to me, but and now it's back out to 20. So I mean that's how things can quit.
He's still encouraged. You still think it's a good pick?
I think so. I think he's got the right profile for the race, and Aramax was beaten in that race as well.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So I would certainly not write him off. But they put a first-time tongue tie on him, which is exactly what they did with Zana here when they felt like he was kind of a bit flat and he ran flat in the Triumph accordingly. So they're just kind of hoping that freshen him up and go straight to the Fred winner and get a mark that'll probably get him in. But yeah, the positive is that you can completely rule him out for a Triumph. The negative is you would have liked to seen a lot more than that, because it certainly wasn't a kind of softly like stay on to third and be kind of a plot defeat. It was a disconcerting, not run his race defeat, but juveniles, what a time to go out it, but he's still one of quite a few that got a decent profile in the race. So
We should say as well, the horse that won that race was the horse that was beaten by C Sessions, who was beaten by Phil Dor. So even now, Phil Dor's form takes a boost.
Yeah, all juvenile form, is really kind of going back to him at the moment.
Yeah.
It probably suggests that he's the one to beat, and we haven't really seen a lot in that juvenile division yet. There's probably a lot of unknown hands. The other one mentioned, Portfolio's probably put the kettle on in terms of.
Yes, I was going to get your thoughts on that. That was, what do you do with put the kettle on?
Well, hopefully she comes back to the best at Cheltenham like she's done before, and that's the only thing you can do. Freshen her up. She goes well fresh. I just hope they run on the Ryrie and see sense. I mean, lobbing about in a mare's chase, you're given Mount Ida is a good horse. Elamine is a good horse. They're 155 horses. Why would you concede Grade 1 penalties to them?
Yeah, exactly.
When you're dual Grade 1 winners, you're a champion chase winner, an ARCO winner, utilising that allowance to win it to do so. Do the same in the Ryanair, please.
Yeah, I think I would. Yeah, interesting. We'll see how that goes. With
the last time Henry de Bromhead won it with Balco de Flo, he got beaten 3 times in his season. The only time he won that season was in the Ryanair.
There we go.
He turned over a hot pot and on the soul that was trained by Weller Mullins at odds on. So that dream and fantasy angle is still alive.
Yeah, so put the kettle on, and Brit's got obviously 2 horses that you're keen to follow. We'll move on to our picks next week. For this week's show, we both get 1 each. I'll mind if I go first.
Go on, crack on.
I am going to go for a horse at 33-1 for the Turners. Obviously, Bob Ollinger's part of a treble for the Turners, so let's hope Dussart finishes second and goes for the Turners. He's out on Wednesday, we believe, at Leicester, over 2 miles 6, which I was astonished that he was going over that trip. But yeah, Dussart, I think there's a lot to like over his novice hurdle run. He would probably have been close in a Supreme last season, come back and run really well in the novice hurdles at the Mersey-Dawn, I think it's called. He was unlucky third, just get beaten by a couple of fresher horses. I think Dussart could be seriously underrated, and I think that price might crash if he comes out and wins impressively on Wednesday. So Dussart at 33-1 for the Turner Novices Chase is my Ante Post pick this week.
Sound angle, yeah. To expect him to win, you'd expect it to shorten as a result of it. You do wonder if his injury back history and things.
Yeah.
Something similar might happen. I mean, I really liked him for the Supreme, for instance. He probably ran quite well in it, and things like that. So, yeah, as long as he stays sound, he's certainly a talented horse. It's just whether they go kind of slowly until he goes open company next year. And he missed the festival last year, rushed him back for Aintree. But certainly that seems to be the race you'd target.
We should just say 2 of those horses that ran in that Aintree race were third time lucky and For Pleasure, who have looked really good over a fence so far.
Yeah, too. Yeah, he does. He's certainly a talented unknown in that regard. Yeah, I do like that one.
Dussart at 33-1 for me. What is your Ante Post pick for this week's show?
It's another 33-1 show.
Okay.
Saint-Ouen in the Champion Hurdle.
Okay.
I thought it was greatly encouraging in the Madison. He was far too free as predictable, but I mean that run might get the Frenchies out of him because of the big setback. But they were planning to go novice chasing with him. Had a setback. We know he's overcome that setback. That was a good run, and that's why they're keeping him over hurdles. Rated 155, 157, round about there. That's too high in my opinion for a county hurdle. So I think you'd have to run him here. Probably run him in the Irish Champion hurdle beforehand, given Sharjah won't go there. He's going to go straight to the festival. And how is he going to reverse his form with Sharjah 5 lengths? Well, I mean, he's only 7 and was lightly raced, and maybe a bigger field would help the Champion Hurdle as well. As you remember, like after he won the County Hurdle, people were, even Willie Mullins thought Champion Hurdle horse. Everyone was tipping him. He's 6, 7, 8 to 1. He's default setting favourite. And Sharjah can't beat Honeysuckle, but you probably know St. Roy can't beat Honeysuckle. But he's one of very few horses in this race that have got potential that just might, if he starts fulfilling it this season, he might come to light. And I think all these kind of small fields, slowly run races that he gets no cover in, and he doesn't help. The 2 races, for instance, he's won a 14-runner main easily, and a 24-runner County Hurdle really easily. That's the only times that he's ran double-figure fields. I'm not saying he'll get double-figure fields in the Champion Hurdle, but he's not going to lead in the Champion Hurdle. You're not so sleepy there. I think there'll be pace in that race to set up for Honeysuckle. Personally, I always thought that, and that kind of dampens enthusiasm in Epatone and Sharjah, who would probably want a kind of a softer pace in terms to use a turn of foot. I think St. Ra also might shape up to Susanna here as well. But I mean, I thought he was. If you look back at the Matson run, he was squeezed up badly coming around the open bends and still travelling quite well. And he's plugged on the line. He's only been beaten 5 lengths. He's just taking a chance that if this is a season that he kind of realises his potential in a way, and I think he can get a lot closer to Zana here, who's ran quite often this season. Sharjah Hill's had a run under his belt. That was his first run of the season, over a setback as well. I think there might be a lot more to come from him. And 7-year-olds recently with a terrific record in the Champion Hurdle. He fits that criteria as well. And GP McManus is a brilliant record as well.
Yeah, he does that, but
he's won 4 of the last 5, so I would rather have him than Epatone, for instance, because he might challenge Honeysuckle, and he might have untapped potential, and he might be starting to realise it a little bit. So he's a bit of a flyer, but I think he's an overpriced each week player in relation to a couple that are above him in the market.
Very good. It's a big prediction for the Champion Hurdle. A really good prediction, 33 to 1 for both of us. So it's been another interesting show. We are going to wrap up the show there. Calum, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. Thanks very much.
Yeah, pleasure as always.
Thanks very much to everyone that's tuned in. Please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channels and follow us on social media. We'll have Cheltenham content all week. We'll have basically news for all the big races this week, so stay tuned for that. Thanks very much, everyone. See you soon. Cheers.